Welcome, everybody, to Unpop Reviews Entertainment Simp Month. That's the theme of this movies, and that means we pick movies that we believe are simps. Now, I've looked at the definition. It can mean several things. It could be a fool in love, or it can just be a fool. It could be a dumb fool in love, or a dumb fool without being either one of them. But it's a person who has no clue about life. And so I picked one of my favorite comedians of all time, Steve Martin, and one of my favorite comedies of all time, The Jerk. We'll be right here, y'all, on Pop Review Entertainment. We're going to review this movie and tell you what we think about a movie that was made in 1979. We'll be right back.
Trade. Consider the vamp, the champ, the tramp. And now the most perfect casting of all, Steve Martin, The Jerk.
It was never easy for me. I was born a poor black child.
Meet Navin Johnson. He's poor.
You mean I'm gonna stay this color?
And he's eager.
This is the kind of music that tells me to go out there and be somebody!
But Navin,
Let him go.
He may not be perfect, but he's the only jerk we've got. Steve Martin, The Jerk.
Yellow.
And welcome back, everybody. I'm one of your hosts this evening amongst four jerks ourselves, or maybe not. I don't offend nobody, but hey, you're all jerks. F it. Let's have a toast for the assholes and have a toast for the douchebags. I'm one of them. So pour up. I got worried tonight. But hey, I'm Mike Knox, one of your hosts. I'm joined by Vic Damone Jr., the executive consultant, and James is here tonight for this 1979, what I think is a classic, Steve Martin's The Jerk. All right. Now, also come to find out this movie was co-written by Steve Martin as well. Saw this movie when I was a wee child, when you had, just HBO or on TV or Prism in your area. And I fell in love with this movie. Like I fell in love with a lot of movies from that era of the Saturday Night Live crew, being a Steve Martin fan. And I just always chuckled at it. So we had an opportunity to have movies about fools. To me, I picked the ultimate fool that's out there from this time span. So this guy is well, he told you from the beginning of the credits. He's just a little black kid. That's all he knows. He's just a poor black kid.
My story? Okay. It was never easy for me. I was born a poor black child.
And that's what he thought his entire life. Shouts out to this cast of this movie. I mean, you got Miss Mabel King in this movie playing his mom. I love that, as well as Richard Ward playing his dad. Just to me, a tremendous cast. If you're any fan of any black exploitation movies or black television growing up in the 70s and 60s up into the 80s, these two guys were there. And Steve Martin turned his thing in the 80s, and I just thought this movie was hilarious. But I'm gonna pass it over here to the executive consultant. You got a chance to see this movie. Any thoughts about this movie?
Yeah, I do have a thought. What were you thinking when you had me watch this movie? That's my thought. Like, I watched this and I saw the trailer and I was doing it. I was like, oh my God, maybe I'm looking at it wrong. And then I watched it and I said, no, it's exactly as stupid as the trailer is looking. Why in the hell am I looking at this white man who's been looking like he's 60 for the past 80 years, right? Why am I looking at him talk about he grew up as a black child and then he's in his black family acting this dumb? Like, I'm not easily offended. I'm not one of these people born in the 21st century. But my God, I was offended watching this. In pre-production, you sat here and were talking about how he said I'm an N-word and he beat up these people, because everybody knows I don't even like that word. But he beat up these people. And yeah, there it is. It was so freaking stupid. And shout out to the Martin Victor Rodriguez, because he said, I wonder if Dumb and Dumber was inspired by this movie. I wonder that too. It was dumb. The women that he was talking to were dumb. Everything was freaking dumb. And it just, I don't know. When we started UPRE about 3-4 years ago, I remember every episode James will say, have this segment, and he'll say, "Where are we going? What are we doing?" I kept asking this question every scene. Where are we going? What are we doing? I didn't get it. I didn't get the premise. Was this movie? It didn't seem like a movie that should just be about just this. It just seemed so stupid. I couldn't stand it. We'll talk more during my final thoughts.
Hey, Victor Moan Jr. You want to go ahead and bring some intelligence back into this conversation?
Well, I mean, look, I'll tell you one thing. Nice.
Leave it to Vic to say, I'll tell you one thing. It goes completely silent.
I mean, I think one of the best ways to describe this movie is a cheap pop. Shout out to Mick Foley, because it's just like stupid humor all around. It goes to show that in 1979 they didn't really need much to make people laugh and to somewhat have a good time. So because this was just like stupid joke after stupid joke after stupid joke after stupid joke, and the whole story is basically a guy that's just clueless about society and how. Talk while the clips play. Well, okay, I'm just talking about. Okay, I'm just talking about right now. And you just messed me up. You messed up my whole train of thought. And now,
All right, Ron Burgundy.
Listen. So the movie was funny, but it also had me thinking. It reminded me. You know who it reminded me of? DMC. From Run DMC. Because he's Dominican, but he didn't know till he was 39. So, all of a sudden you can't expect him to start eating rice and beans. So the thing is, like, this guy, he grew up one way and just knows that one way. And I'll tell you one thing that I appreciated about him. He kept sending money back. Never forgot about his family. Never forgot about the people that raised him. Didn't necessarily care that he was a different race or any of that. I loved what the mother said. She was like, I love you if you was black and green or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of cool. That was kind of, I didn't know I could do that. Nice. Okay. So you see that whole situation, that just showed real love. You know what I mean? Like she found them on the doorstep, like on some like Firehouse type stuff. Like that was interesting. So, but other than that, just whole movie was just a hilarious ride because the guy is just an idiot. And that's why I said, like, was Dumb and Dumber inspired by this? The same thing with Waterboy. Like parts of this felt like a little bit like Bobby Boucher. Just the level of cluelessness that this guy had was just amazing. But yeah, that's it. That's my thoughts.
All right. Well, James.
I must apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Oftentimes you see me writing on the show and look like I'm doing something. Sometimes I'm goofing around in our private chat. But Mike Knox, I'm sorry. I wanted to be here on time. I'm rushing to do something after the show. I work 6 nights a week, almost like the people that Steve Martin's family belonged to, slaves. And I didn't want to leave the show early. So I had to do some scribbling while on air and while we were doing the synopsis of this movie. Also, shout out to Vic. He completely encapsulates this movie, and I want to give you credit, Vic, to your face right now. 1979, rice and beans, internal dialogue. Where we going? I have no idea. And neither did I when I watched this movie, okay? Because it was all over the place. One thing I did think of, though, is Blazing Saddles, because I enjoyed watching that movie. And even though they had what we would call now no-no words or racial slurs or whatever they teach the kids who can't write in cursive today in school, there was a purpose to it, and the person who was being stereotyped was often the smartest in the scene and in the movie. Now, we have examples of this in modern cinema. If you want to look at Quentin Tarantino, who gets shat on a lot, if I can say that, we'll be allowed to post this video up later. If you look at Django Unchained, the thing about the N-word. If you look at The Hateful Eight, we could say the N-word, but also depictions of other kinds of ints going on in that movie, and yet the smartest person or persons in the case of Hateful Eight, are the people who are being dogged upon, right? And there's a difference, and there is also the similarity, with Blazing Saddles. If you've seen that movie, I don't want to get into too much, what's going on in that movie, but if you've seen the movie, you understand where I'm going. Whereas in this one, it opens up to me being slapped in the face. I don't know about Mick Foley, but it opens up to me being slapped in the face when I literally see depictions of what I saw of Bamboozled. Check that episode out because we covered that movie. And it was like all of Jim Crow stereotype for my tears and somebody else's laughter. And I often ask myself, well, who produced this movie? Who wrote this movie? Who directed this movie? I know who starred in it. I'm not trying to say anything that's going to get us kicked off a platform, but I just find it interesting because certain things are allowed on screen. Certain things in the music industry are promoted, freedom of speech, and other things aren't. If you don't believe me, you can ask Ice Cube and NWA. And if you still don't believe me, well, you can't ask them now. But if you listen to some of Michael Jackson's songs, they were heavily edited. Interesting. And yet freedom of speech. But anyway, I digress. So I saw that, and that was very, very hard for me to get over. Why? Because I love my people. And I'm very concerned about how we're depicted. And then I started watching this movie about simp, which I thought was somebody who was just fawning over a woman unnecessarily. And Chris explained it's about a fool. And sure enough, Steve Martin in this movie was a fool. But then he goes from a fool to a semi-drunk, where he seems to be aware of what's going on. What scene am I talking about? When he's cheating on his abusive girlfriend in his home / big rig with Bernadette Peters. And he seems very cognizant that what he's doing is wrong. Whereas when he's working at the gas station, he has no idea that somebody's throwing leads at him. I'll say it that way. So where's the consistency in the characterization? Nevertheless, the movie continues. He's writing back to his family, and we only ever see him send them $2, literally, and 50 cents. Okay, it's 1979. Maybe Kool-Aid, because this is that kind of movie, cost far less. I don't know. I wasn't around, right? And then somehow at the end, in order to make up, even though we go to that Scarface scene that they completely ripped off, right? When he's kicking like Luke Skywalker on Jabba's slave barge, okay? And he's kicking air and throwing it around like it's nothing, okay? Shout out to 90s Kung Fu, right? Because he says, no, you've got it mistaken. I am that N-word. And this makes it all better. Cut to the end, as I said earlier, when his family has clearly invested it, even though they've shown no acumen for business or anything like that, because they themselves, without the help of this child, this white man, who doesn't know that he's a white child, okay, gave them money, though he was their benefactor, even though they had this business acumen, they weren't able to pull themselves up, even though there were about 20 of them in this slave cabin. And then when they do, and they go back home, are they living in a deluxe apartment in the sky, at least? Are they living in a then modern home, and the land is actually irrigated and farmable? No, they're living in a bigger slave cabin. And they're still shucking and jiving. Okay. Well, I'll say my final thoughts in this movie about a simple white man later.
And with that, guys, we're going to take our first break, see what else we got coming up this month. We have our franchise coming up and other big ones. We'll be right back here on Public View Entertainment.
Primrose Everdeen. I volunteer! I volunteer as tribute.
And so it was decreed that each year the 12 districts of Pan Am shall offer up in tribute one young man and woman between the ages of 12 and 18 to be trained in the art and to be prepared to fight to the death.
Just want a good show. That's all they want.
There's 24 of us, Gail. Only one comes out.
Hi, what's your name, son?
My name is Clifford, and I think you're the bestest captain in the whole wide world.
Well, thank you.
Martin Short in his smallest role ever. Charles Grodin in his most trying performance.
I underestimated the evil one.
What is it with you and Dinosaur World? It's a sick thing!
And Mary Steenburgen. Clifford, terror has a new name, and comedy has a new face.
My story? Okay. It was never easy for me. I was born a poor black child.
Welcome back to Unpop Review Entertainment, discussing a film that came out in 1979, so the world was different. Now, first, I'm just going to say a lot of things, and I'll go on and give my final, or let you guys get your final thoughts, get my final thoughts up, thumbs down, all right, if you will, so to speak. But this movie can't copy Scarface. Scarface came out in 1983, just saying. So this movie came out in 1979, and I'm not a fact checker, because I'll be knowing stuff. I'll be freaking everything. I got to ask everybody. But that one I knew, because I'm not a big Scarface fan. So that I just knew when it came out. However, but I still get what you're talking about, and I still get the scene. And here's my thing, though. Like, in 1979, right? And we always talk about, or I like to talk about anyway, can a movie pass the test of time, right? First thing I always say also is music. Eyes of the beholder being beauty, and comedy are the most subjective things we have in this world. Right. So, I mean, no offense. This guy had me watch disaster movie or something, date movie or something. OK, so perfect example of what's funny to one may not be funny to others. That's all I'm saying. So it was a movie. I'm glad people get to watch the movie, because that's what I like about Unpop Review. You get to pick a movie during that time of month. And unfortunately, you might catch a gem. You might catch a dud. All right, so in this case, let's find out what these guys thought about movies. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Going to start with James. I know times is pressing for you. So not yet. Okay. So executive consultant, thumbs up, thumbs down on this movie, and final thoughts.
You know, I'm watching this movie, and I'm watching him say, oh, you got to stay this color forever and all this other stuff. And I'm like, why the hell am I watching this movie? I mean, it's like, I love the fact that we watch movies that I never would take the time to watch. Then I see something, and I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me, man. The gas scene, stupid. Everything, so
he hates these cans.
Stupid.
The new phone book is here. My name is in print. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. I'm like flabbergasted. Then, as a hotel manager, you have to understand why I find this funny. This line comes up. What a great place. You know, you can tell so much about a person from the way they live. Just looking around here, I can tell you're a generally dirty person. Working in hotels, that had me laugh out loud. Because there have been certain times when I see a woman, I'm like, well, okay, she's attractive. Then she leaves Chris, come to room 303. I go up there, I like, you dirty son of a buck. That has, Ron would say, had me rolling. Not Ron, Vic would say it. So I started paying attention to the movie more. James talked about the abusive relationship. That was funny to me, right? Because she was acting
that part's
so
on literally right now.
But then the little slow girl, I hate to say it like that, beats her up. You know, after she goes on Big and Bad. That reminded me a lot of stuff. And this movie just went all over the place. And I'm like, wow. There's certain scenes I'm laughing at. And I'm like, wow, when it gets to one of the scenes that Mikey's playing, it was the one where I guess he's upset and he starts saying, I don't need this, I need this, I need this, right?
Oh, all I need is this thermos and this ashtray. That's all I need.
If you're watching to it, I'm going to say another adjective. You need to listen to it. And when I say listen to it, it's because I realize in all of Steve Martin's movies, this man yells and yells and yells and yells all his lines for reasons I don't understand. Now, granted, some of the times I was applauding him because he had a lot of stuff to memorize and he just doing all these soliloquies. But other times, like, damn, does he have to yell everything? And then I said, you know what? Now I know why Mike Knox picked this, because if you watch the Mike Knox show, he yells and yells and yells and yells. And yes, sir, you are a jerk.
You don't watch enough Steve Martin movies.
It made me. It made me realize, okay, I get it. I get why you picked this. So you asked me if it's going to be thumbs up or thumbs down. We know the deal. We know the criteria. Did I enjoy it more than I enjoyed the Batman? Princess, you're here. Did you like the movie The Batman? Good. You're a smart woman. That's why you're my daughter. Here's the thing, right? I hate to say it, but I did. I really did. And I say I hate to say it because more so, a lot of movies I don't like, I give a thumbs up to for it, and it bothers me. I downright hate the fact that I'm going to give this movie a thumbs up, but it gets a thumbs up because I did enjoy it more than the Batman.
Oh, right. That's I'm not sure.
And I did laugh.
I'm not sure
a
that's
few times, but it's so offensive and it's so stupid, and I really don't like this movie. I really don't. But it gets a thumbs up.
Victor Moan Jr.
Well, I never heard of this movie. I saw it today. It's a reminder as to what was offensive back then and what's offensive now. And it's a reminder of, like, you know, you when you're raised in an environment and you don't know any different, that's what you become. Like, everybody can become a product of their environment. Now, this was just out of this world because I feel like they were just pushing buttons. But then Andrew Dice Clay was huge. That, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of comedy, that kind of, like, you know, the kind of things that Eddie Murphy was saying, and the kind of things that was just going around at the time. It's kind of unfortunate, but a lot of it just seems normal, which is sad to say for 1979. But yeah, and here's the other thing. Like, I live in Corona, Queens, right? Where when we first moved here, it was a bunch of Italians. And the thing is, like, I remember the word Mulian being tossed around like crazy, not understanding what it was because we were from another country. But I just remember that word being tossed around all over the place, being called that and this and that. And, like, you know, that scene, like, that kind of hit because, you know, that was just something that I've heard and seen in person. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that kind of shit, like, and it's crazy because it just makes me think about how loose they were with it back then. And then it's very interesting. But then the other part of it was just how dumb he was, how clueless he was, and how he went around and just couldn't figure things out. But then, just like James said earlier, when he had to bullshit a couple of chicks, all of a sudden he got real smart. He got real fucking smart. Like, so that whole thing about it was interesting. But bottom line, I give it a thumbs up because I was quite entertained.
He said his learned what his father told him: don't trust Whitey. James, your thoughts on this movie? Final thoughts? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Let's go.
Well, look how prescient my co-hosts are, ladies and gentlemen. I laughed at myself for watching this movie. Talking about Hunger Games, I thought to myself, am I the tribute? Have I been sent down to the Capitol? Am I going to be sacrificed for the will of the rich folks? Vic, in this case. Shout out to Vic for going to France before it was set up ablaze. So tonight, anyway, if you're just tuning in, we're reviewing Meet the Browns. What are we doing? There we go. If you're just tuning in, we're reviewing Meet the Browns. This is a scene from the movie early on when they're outside their country N-word shack. I call it a ninja shack or a Mulian shack, as Vic so kindly, or Muli, as they sometimes say, a Muli shack. That's what it looks like in the HD version, okay, where they're playing these black stereotypes that we've seen time and time again, and we laugh at it, and because we laugh at it, other folks who don't look like us, they laugh at it as well, and it's okay. And because other movies did it, and they did it well, we think when somebody who has lesser talent comes along and they do it, something similar, that it's okay. Again, because the Browns laugh at it. But as Chris says, his criteria for these films is whether or not it was better than the Batman. Like WB, all the movies that came out in 2023 that we're reviewing, he's gonna go watch them and compare them to ones that came out on HBO Max in 2022. I don't know why. That being said, I thought to myself, you know what? This guy is stupid. This guy is constantly making gas, with the exception of when he's trying to bilk these two women into sleeping with him, right? So I thought to myself, well, really, it kind of meets the criteria, much like it did when we did bad movies that we love. And then I thought about this scene from another movie, which I liked as well.
If you're in there, I'd like you to know that I agree with every word you said. We are the future. But unfortunately, you killed my mother.
One of the dopest scenes ever.
And so you understand, if you've seen that movie, where I'm going with this. Even though he was dumb, even though this movie was stupid, even though it stuck to the definition of the word simp or simpleton or dummy, no, they disrespected my people. This movie gets a thumbs down.
All right. Guys, listen, I love it. Some people didn't, some people did. I wake up every morning and I piss excellence. I wake up every day and I'm offended. I wake up every day and something in this world bothers me. It's unfortunate, but not unfortunate in the sense that if you cannot sometimes separate yourself from things, I look at this like people love, which guys may agree to this, that I have not yet to see and understand is Tropic Thunder. To this day, I don't like the dude playing another dude. I don't understand the concept. To me, that was disrespectful. That's where I stand. And this time, again, like watching Police Academy, like watching Revenge of the Nerds, as they say, those were the times, right? Because those are the times, don't make it not funny or disrespectful. Like, and I like where you were going with that, Vic, and you named all the comedians that have done things like this. I mean, hell, Gallagher, my mother and her boyfriend at the time paid like $150 to go to Atlantic City to get fruit smashed on them and thought that ish was funny. Okay. So I don't know if it didn't reach it. I apologize. I'll try to do better next time. I pick a dumber movie to see if you like it. What you gonna say?
I got to tell you something. One thing that I found hilarious was, oh, my name was in the newspaper and now it's on your ass. I bet you more people is going to see that. My name on your newspaper. Yo, that had me rolling because he didn't realize how much he insulted her right there.
And just like you say, like you said, back, I'm watching this movie. I'm 7, 8 years old. I don't know what's disrespectful versus what's not disrespectful, in a sense. You know what I mean? At this time. So, like I said, I remember telling my wife watching today. I said, you know what? And I watch this movie all the time. I literally have this movie on Blu-ray and regular DVD. Okay, I watch it. I love this film because it's still funny to me. And I always say this, I'm going to give my thumbs up, thumbs down, which you already know is a thumbs up. People say, how come you hate Hulk Hogan? I don't hate Hulk Hogan for what he said in his bedroom at home with his best friend's girl, right? I would quickly say, I don't want my daughter marrying some bum-ass ninja over marrying an NBA ninja if she could. He just can't say that. You know what I'm saying? However, here's in the privacy of his own home. So what you're watching in the privacy of your own home, like, I still love R. Kelly. You won't ever see me playing his music aloud. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to play Kells, play them in your ears. It's not for everybody to hear no more. So for me, listen, thumbs up. This movie from 1979 to 2023 is still funny to me. So with that being said, guys, we can get out of here. Make sure you guys
I'm sorry. Mike,
follow,
can I apologize? I think
comment.
you're right. Can I give you credit? This movie, I had to look it up. Budget was $4 million. This movie's made $100 million. That's incredible.
It was $4 million to make.
No, but it made $100 million. That's incredible.
I'm just saying, you said it, but it cost $4 million to make. I meant to say.
Yeah, it cost $4 million to make, and then it made $100 million.
Steve got $1 million by himself. So that's funny.
Where did the money go? Where did the money?
Yeah, where did the money go?
They made a lot of money, but to answer Chris's question, well, it was directed by Carl Reiner.
Yes.
And the screenplay was by Steve Martin, Carl Gottlieb, and Michael Elias. David Picker and William McEwen They produced it, so I guess it went into their pockets.
Yeah,
you can look up who those people are.
Well, I like Mr. McCurran, but that's only what I know from Entourage. I don't know shit about that man. But listen, guys, we go get up out of here. Listen, thanks for tuning in to Unpopular Review Entertainment. We have just reviewed The Jerk. What did you think about it? Comment below. Let us know what you thought. We are out of here, y'all. See y'all next week. Hunger Games. Peace.
My story? Okay. It was never easy for me. I was born a poor black child.